Hey JD, can we stop for a second? I'm
Yep.
sorry. I've got a huge fucking bug underneath me that I have to kill. And it's fucking huge. Oh my God.
We have a great show. We overcome just issues today. And that big issue was a giant bug on your floor.
So just a minute ago, we were trying to record this and a huge bug, you know, the ones with like a billion different arms, just like walked right across my foot underneath me. And I had to take a weight and kill it many times.
Just killing it once wasn't enough.
No, and you know, there's legs moving around that are it got pretty nasty.
Speaking of killing it, our guest today has been killing it on the stage in Chicago and elsewhere for quite some time.
He has, and he's very well known, especially in Chicago, for being not only a great actor, but a great coach. And he's just really well liked around the town too.
Yeah. Stef Tovar is a bit of a legend. He's not only an actor. I always think of things sports wise, right? A player coach, right? He's not only an actor, he's a coach for actors, he's a coach for executives, and an author too.
And he will talk a little bit more about his book, but it is one of the best on-camera books that you're going to be able to find out there right now. It's one of the best I've ever read.
What made you pick it up initially, Mike?
You know, I was just curious because I think that certain on-camera acting gets mystified for no reason. And someone told me that the way he talks about it is techniques and tricks and being in the box. And it's really straightforward to kind of learn some of these tricks. And he explains it in a way that I think anyone, whether you're uh, talking to CEOs or whether you're selling wine, uh, it's important to learn some of these tricks.
That's fantastic. And the great thing is, we're going to hear, like all of our guests here on Sea Level Up, that the origin story. What made you get into this particular profession? Today, we're talking acting. We've talking technology. We've talking. We're going to talk restaurants. We're going to talk athletics. You name it. We're going to hit all of these. But also, how are you a leader, and how can you be a leader? And he talks some great things on leadership too, because it really is a more of an impact in acting than we realize, isn't it?
It is, and he is a leader in this town, in this industry. He's someone that is a mentor to a lot of people. A lot of people ask his advice or will hire him before an audition, and he's just trusted in a major way. And he's not competitive in the way that maybe sometimes other actors could be. He's just open and giving, and he's really one of the best.
You're going to notice when you hear his voice, you're going to recognize it. It's one of those guys. I'm like, I've seen this guy in things and many things. And we're going to dive into that and oh, so much more. So when we come back, Mike's going to help lead our discussion as we talk to Stef.
Our guest this week is an award-winning actor, author, performance coach for actors, public speaking coach for corporate executives. You may know him from such films as Contagion with Matt Damon and Gwyneth Paltrow, as well as TV shows like Chicago Med, Proven Innocent, The Boss, The Chi, Chicago Fire, and much, much more. His stage career is awesome as well. In fact, JD, I remember seeing him years ago in Big Fish when it premiered in the Midwest. And I don't even think I told him that. I saw him in that.
No.
So let's welcome to the show, Stef Tovar.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Hey,
Appreciate it. Great introduction.
How you doing?
I'm flattered. I'm well. How are you?
I'm great, and thank you for being here today. So with all those credits and experience, with many great Chicago-based credits too, I have one question for you. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, that's good. I mean, the Chicago hot dog is its own institution, but if I'm going to say, is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, what constitutes a sandwich? Is it, something in between two slices of bread? it's tough because the hot dog bun is attached. So is it actually 2 slices of bread? No. The hot dog bun is its own thing. And so I am going to say that the hot dog is not a sandwich.
I think I agree with you too.
I mean, we could be splitting hairs on that for sure. But, also Chicago hot dogs are such an institution in this city. And I am a Chicago homer. So I'm going to stick up for the hot dog in our city. And I'm going to say, no, it's different. It's not a sandwich. It's its own thing, which may or may not be right.
And a Chicago
Okay.
dog plays that way. A Chicago dog plays that way.
Totally
right?
get it.
There's a lot to
So
it.
for you, what is your Chicago food? What is Stef Tovar Chicago food?
That's a good one. I got to say Lou Malnati's deep dish pizza is my kind of go-to. But
Me
that
too.
I also love a Portillo's, the Italian beef. I get the beef and cheddar on a croissant with hot peppers dipped.
Yeah, you got to get it wet. Got to get
Yeah.
that sandwich wet.
Yeah.
Oh, but that sounds good.
Yeah. I love this. So we're all Chicago right here. I love it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, listen, there's so much we're going to dive into with you here today, and See Level Up. We love to talk about origins and beginnings and where people have come from. Talk to us a little bit about that defining moment that made you realize this is going to be your true passion, and this is where you want to navigate your life, and starting here in Chicago.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm a man of a certain age now, so when I look back at my career, I'm like, oh wow, I started here, went there. I mean, I left college and came to Chicago, where I'm from. I went to school in Ohio, and I moved to Chicago to do the premiere of the Stephen Sondheim musical Assassins, the Chicago premiere. Back in that day, Stephen Sondheim always gave his Chicago premieres of his musicals to one place, and it was Pegasus Players, where Truman College is on Wilson and Broadway. That was where I did my first show, and I stayed in Chicago after that and was here for 10 years. But then I moved to LA, and I was in LA for 6 years. And that really changed me in terms of being more interested in television and film and what that experience was like. But then I had a kid, and raising a kid in LA versus raising him in the Midwest, and also Chicago's tricky. We came back to Chicago. I was married at the time. We came back here for a wedding in the summer. The boy was just born. We had family and friends around. Chicago's beautiful in the summer and enticing. And we were like, let's move back. So we moved back. And so in the winter, cut to that winter, I told her, we've made a terrible mistake. As she was in the truck, and I was using a hammer in my robe to get the ice off the wheel of the car so it could get out of the parking spot. But no regrets. Loved having my boy grow up in the Midwest, and sort of rebuilt my career here in Chicago as an artistic leader of a theater company, and then got into more television film as the years went on. So that was kind of my trajectory. And that aha moment was really when I started coaching actors in 2017. That's when I was like, okay, this is my sweet spot. I mean, I'll always be an actor and do those gigs, but the coaching actors and the gratification I get from coaching people and helping them succeed in their own careers was my sort of aha moment.
Steph, I have a question in regards to your coaching.
Mm-hmm.
I've experienced it. First of all, your book is one of the best, if not the best, on-camera books I've ever read in my life. And working with you as a coach, you're one of the best, if not the best, coach for on-camera acting. And I'm not blowing smoke here. Like, this is absolutely how I feel and what I think. And because of that, I, as a father, even though my sons right now are really into soccer, I'm like, you know what? Why don't you get into acting? Why don't you take a second city class? Like do a thing here and there, and diversify what you're doing. and and I do it because I'd like them to get confidence in different ways, especially if they're
Mhm.
not feeling they're getting confidence from certain areas of their life. But beyond that, as a anxiety stricken person too, I think about the cost of college. I think
Of course.
about how much I paid for college and how expensive that is now compared to when I went. So I guess my short question to a long rambling statement is
JD's like, yep.
i- is it worth it? Is it worth it to pay for a expensive conservatory, that sort of thing? Or should people that are interested in doing acting, whether it's on camera, on stage, or whatever it may be, just start to do like specific classes with people like you?
That's a really great question. And actually, I was with a colleague tonight that teaches at a local university. And we had this conversation, which is when I went to school for acting, and I went to Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. Okay. I got into DePaul, but I wanted to go away from home. So I went to Ohio, the heart of it all. I left that college, and this is before the internet, but I left that college thinking the only thing I'm going to do is act. That's it. I got my degree in acting. I'm going to be an actor, and that is all I'm going to do. And I didn't know that there were, first of all, I didn't know that that was going to be tough, by the way. And second, I didn't know that I could diversify and that as an actor, it's very difficult to make a living in one aspect of acting, whether it's theater or television or film or voiceover. You really have to have an eclectic um, skill set in order to make an actual living. I always say this to actors. Let's say we live in Chicago. There's a musical theater house in near Chicago called the Marriott Lincolnshire Theater. They do musicals all year long. Let's say you work at the Marriott for 52 weeks out of the year, okay? Which will not happen for most people, all people probably. Let's say you work there 52 weeks out of the year, you make $1,000 a week, which is a pretty good salary for someone that's working in the theater. Well, after taxes, you're going to make 40 something $1,000 a year, and that's not going to be a living that you can sustain yourself, let alone if you want to have a family. So you're going to have to do something else. And when I left college, I didn't know that that was what I was going to be up against. I didn't realize that until very late. So what I would say is if you want to go to a conservatory and spend that money investing in a degree for acting, make sure that it's a well-rounded program that you're in that is giving you other skill sets, whether it's voiceover, whether it's television and film training, so that when you get out of that program and you have this college debt, perhaps, you're able to find work in this community that's going to supplement that. Because at the end of the day, you are signing up for a path that is completely uncertain, and the way you get and the way people determine if you're going to get a job is completely random. Like it just is. So I think it's a great question, and I think that if you're going to audition for these programs, think about, okay, what do I want to do? What does that look like when I get out of this program? What's the debt I'm going to have attached to that? And what are the possibilities I have for income in this business? Because if you just go into this business, oh, I'm going to get on a TV show right out of college. Well, that's a tall order. And there's a lot of factors involved. Doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means that there's a lot of factors involved that can prevent you from achieving that goal that have nothing to do with you. So,
Yeah, you bring up my next point, I guess, there, Steph, as well, because unlike many other professions in the world, there's ups and downs, and no more than in the acting world, right? You can have tremendous successes, tremendous lows. How do you keep yourself motivated as an actor through these ups and downs? Because they're always going to be there, and to keep the stick to itiveness, if you will, to keep doing it instead of going, you know what, maybe I should be an accountant.
That's a great question, and it's funny because we talked about that tonight, my colleagues and I. The thing that I would recommend is that, and this goes with anything, right? We all know this. We're older. Like, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. And actors, and this is what I did, tend to think, all right, it's all or nothing. If I'm not working, then then I'm failing in some way, right? I'm not making it. And it's no, you have to find balance in this business for your own sanity and for also walking into an audition room. If you walk into an audition room, and by the way, we don't walk into those rooms anymore. We send in self tapes or do Zoom callbacks, as Mike can tell you. But if you walk into a room and you need that job, you want that job because of X, Y, and Z, those casting directors, those directors are going to smell that.
Mm.
And that is going to prevent you from putting your best foot forward, right? Rather than walking in and saying, hey, this is my best version of this role. This is who I am. This is what I bring to it. If I don't get this today, I'm okay. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And I have these other things in my life. And like that sort of mentality, that mindset, I wish I had that when I was in my 20s and early 30s, but I walked into those rooms like, I have to book this job. I haven't booked a job in like 6 months. And when you do that, you're setting yourself up for failure. And I think that actors too often don't have other things in their life that bring them other joy. So find those things, find those avenues, and find those other jobs that can give you revenue. And listen, you talk to actors, like lots of actors do lots of different things. They're wine salesmen, they're realtors, they're this, that, the other thing. If you can find other ways to make a living, and then when those acting jobs come up, give everything you have to that acting audition. Do everything you can to be your best. But if you don't get it, and 9 times out of 10 you won't get it, that's just the math, then it's not as devastating to you and your psyche and your confidence, which carries over to the next audition, right? Have other things in your life that you value and that you want to invest in, so that, and listen, I went to college and grew up in a way where, to me, that would be a sellout. Oh, no, I have to give everything to acting, because if I don't, I'm not serious about it. And I think that was the big mistake. If I look back on my career and go, I didn't have to look at it that way. There are other ways to look at it. And that can really save you a lot of mental heartache and also professional heartache as well.
All of that is amazing stuff, Steph, and I couldn't agree with you more. Uh, Being older and looking back at how I felt when I was doing this when I was in my 20s, and yeah, every audition was everything. I'm like, oh my god, if I book this, then I won't have to work an extra 3 nights serving tables. Simple
Yeah.
things like that you're thinking about, and it's intense. It's intense pressure, and it doesn't help the performance of the audition at all. And also, to your point, the fact that back then we had to be there in person. There was no way to polish things the way that uh, I guess people can now, where they're taping it and sending it in. They can do as many takes. They can spend a couple days doing it sometimes and actually really get the best of the best. So with that, I need to ask you
Mhm.
if you have any, because I love this sort of stuff. Do you have any horror stories of auditions for you, like an awful audition? And you don't need to be specific about it to call anyone out or anything like that. But I love to hear um, just the bad ones, because I certainly have one or two that stick out, and it's always kind of fun to hear from other actors their experience.
Oh God. I mean, now I've had such a long career, spanning like 25 years, where my bad auditions that used to be singular and detrimental to my psyche are now a montage of bad auditions. And so they all kind of play together, and there's probably music in the background and a whole thing. So there's not one in particular that is standing out to me. Oh no, I know a good one that I'm gonna say. This was years ago, but I still go by the montage, I bits and pieces of moments and all of those things string together. But I had an audition for a play at Steppenwolf, and I don't think they actually did this play. They auditioned for it, and then it kind of fell through for some reason, whatever. Or maybe they did. Anyway, I auditioned for Amy Morton, the legendary Amy Morton, who, when I was in college, I came back from Dayton and I saw her and Billy Peterson and Jerry Becker in a play at the Remains Theater, RIP, called Once in Doubt. And it was like mind-blowing. And the Remains Theater was the coolest. Like, I don't know if you remember or ever saw a show there, but like, you went in and it was like a lounge chair here, a couch here, a couple of chairs here. That was what the audience setup was. It wasn't like, formal Steppenwolf seating. It was the coolest space.
Oh, cool.
And one of the best, most visceral plays I've ever seen. And she was like an idol of mine. I mean, and here I am auditioning for her, and it's a very difficult role. It is a role where it is a man being like a woman in this play. And I was trying to focus on not being a caricature and tapping into my feminine side, which I'm very comfortable doing. And I thought I was prepared as much as I could, but the window that I had to learn the stuff wasn't great. It was like, I think I had 4 days. And I kept doing this thing where I entered and then I had to exit for something. And she said to me, she stopped and she goes, "That false exit isn't serving you." And I was like,
whoa.
Oh. And, she was just calling out my bullshit in the room, which, if you've ever been in a room with her or watched her in anything, that woman has no bullshit. So she was doing me a favor, but I was so taken back because it was Amy Morton that I was like, oh, she hates me. Right. And then I was just lost. And I am embarrassed to think of what I might have done after that, but I can't remember. Thank God I blacked out. That's my one tragic story.
That's awesome. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, you're going to get rapid fire questions in the Kreisel Corner. I want to talk about your book, how you're coaching CEOs and others as well. So we're going to take a quick break. Are you getting the quality healthcare you need? GetToDoctorFast.com wants you to connect with the doctors who can be trusted and who are dedicated to helping you honestly address your medical conditions. These doctors say things like,
"Well, that's gross,"
or
"Never seen that before,"
and
"Is that rash contagious?"
They have the honest bedside manner you've always wanted, with comments like,
"Crap, you can bend it that way?"
And my favorite,
"You should probably see a doctor for that."
So stop wasting your time with doctors that won't address your conditions with honesty. Visit GetToADoctorFast.com today. And we're back, and it's time for Kreisel's Corner. Over to you, Mike.
All right, Steph, I'm going to send you some questions here that are rapid fire questions, just to get to know you a little bit better for those of us that don't. So here we go.
Top of the dome.
What is your favorite drink?
A Woodford Manhattan Up.
Okay. Sounds good. What is your favorite holiday?
Oh, that's a good one. I want to say Christmas, but I think I'm going to say Thanksgiving. I love to cook Thanksgiving, and so Thanksgiving. And I have a lot of great memories from when I was a kid for Thanksgiving.
Are aliens real, and have they actually been living among us for decades pretending to be humans?
As a huge Alien fan, the franchise, and I just saw Alien Covenant for the first time. Like, how did I miss that one? I would say absolutely not. Aliens are not real, and they're definitely not living with us right now. I think we know.
So we talked about Amy Morton and some stage stuff. What is the best thing you've ever seen on stage?
Oh, wow. That was up there, the Amy Morton, Jerry Becker, William Peterson play. But I would say, and it goes back to William Peterson again, I was there opening night for Night of the Iguana at the Goodman, directed by Bob Falls, starring William Peterson and Cherry Jones in the front row.
Wow.
I think that probably tops out that's it for me.
What is the worst concert you've ever been to?
Oh, that's a good one. I don't go to a ton of concerts. I went to like Poplar Creek, which, if you live in the Chicago area, you remember that if you're old like me. Alpine Valley. A bad concert? I'm not like a guy that goes to a concert and likes to like dance, because I dance like I'm dancing right now. So I would say a concert where I was watching a band and felt like I should be dancing and just wasn't feeling it. And I can't think of a particular band that made me do that, but I'm sure I've been to plenty of those.
All good. Okay, so what is your favorite TV series right now?
That's a good question. Right now, I mean, all time you're talking Breaking Bad, but like right now, what am I into on television that I'm like, oh, that's really good? So I got into House of Dragon, which I was a Game of Thrones guy. Wasn't sure about House of Dragon, but I totally got into it. The Penguin, the first episode of The Penguin was really good. Like acting, story, the way it was shot, all of it was like, you don't have to be a Batman fan, and I like Batman, but I'm not a huge fan, to really get into that show. It was great.
Okay, so who is the best host for the Academy Awards in your opinion? Could be someone that's done it or someone that should do it.
That's a really great question. I really feel like Jimmy Kimmel is a great choice because he binds the room together. He's not pretentious. He like everyone kind of knows him, and he's not trying to be something he's not. He might not be a slam dunk the way Neil Patrick Harris was with the Tony Awards. If you've ever seen Neil Patrick Harris, I mean, like the best of all time. When I think of him hosting the Tonys and his opening number, that's not Jimmy Kimmel. But what Jimmy Kimmel does is he brings the room down and he makes everybody feel at home and not take themselves too seriously. And I feel like with the Academy Awards, that's the key. And so I would say he's my pick.
Okay, so how many, as we're talking about Academy, how many Police Academy movies were there?
I want to say 8. I don't know why that number came into my head. I want to say 8. Is that not anywhere near? I think I saw the first one, and that's it. So, wrong guy for that question, but I'm guessing 8. That's final answer.
It's a really good guess, but it's actually 7.
Oh, see, I was close though.
Close.
If it was Wheel of Fortune, I would have.
Very close. Very close. All right, when will the Cubs win the World Series, Steph?
2027.
Ooh. All right. Theoretically, you're on death row. What is your last meal?
I can have everything. So I'm going to have a slice of Lou Malnati's deep dish butter crust with pepperoni and jardiniere. I'm going to have a filet. and they have to bring it back. But the restaurant I worked at in the 90s called Cucci Milan had this thing called the Budino, which was like this chocolate little lava thing where the inside was like a liquid chocolate center. They're going to have to bring that back and serve it to me because I am going to do it.
Only for killing at the box office, Steph. Finally, if heaven exists, what's the one Chicago movie you will suggest to God?
Blues Brothers.
Ah, there it is.
Good answer.
There it is.
Good answer.
And,
You survived Kreisel's Corner.
hey, yes.
It takes courage, and you made it happen. Steph, I want to dive into your book because you not only worked, obviously on stage, as we've talked about, coaching, as we talked about, but you decided to put this all down on paper and have this guide, an actor's guide to on-camera acting. Talk to me, what was the most difficult part of that process? It's a whole different process than you normally deal with.
Yeah. The most difficult part of the process was the working with the publisher and the editing process. That was something I was not prepared for, and it did not go well. Like you would think if you're going to write a book and an editor is going to be like, all right, we're going to publish your book. We're going to pay you. So we're going to help you get this. There was not that. All of the edits of that book, I had to do myself. And there wasn't anyone that was like, hey, Steph, I think you should think about this for this chapter, or maybe this chapter needs some editing here and there. That never happened. So I relied on people I trusted in this business that are friends, like Matt Miller, who is a director and a coach, awesome guy, directs a lot of the Lowe's spots, and who I interviewed for some intel for the book. And he's very well read. And I sent it to him and he gave me some very harsh, like tough feedback. And without that kind of feedback, I don't know that I would have put the best version of the book forward, because I wasn't getting that on the publisher side. And it was just something that I didn't know. This was during the pandemic. I wrote this book. I wrote it, I finished it. I sent it out in May of 2020 when the whole publishing industry had shut down. I think the reason why I got the deal that I got was because Contagion, this movie I did with Matt Damon, had its 5 minutes of fame for me anyway when it came out, because my scene was in the trailer of that movie all over the country. It was on the SAG Awards. It was everywhere. The movie went away. Pandemic hits. And my scene, for whatever reason, was on CNN like every single day. And so this publisher, Applause Books, who's the biggest publisher of theater books in the country, and like Michael Caine's film acting book is same publisher, reached out and said, we want to publish your book. But that didn't happen until the fall of 2020. As the industry was sort of coming back. So the whole process of actually getting the book published was more difficult than I thought, because I just was ignorant when it came to what actually goes into that. And if I had it over again, if I had like a second version, whatever, the revised version of the book or second edition, there's a lot that I would add and change and cut. You
can do that today. You can still do that. And do you think it was easy to get that tough feedback as a first-time author, because you've been an actor and your whole career is about feedback and from directors and from others? Did you feel like getting that feedback was not a bad thing?
Oh, I welcomed it, because I would rather have a friend say, hey, this sucks. You got to change all of this, than get a review, online that's like, who the hell does this guy think he is writing this book? Blah, 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 blah. So I was like, give me all the hard feedback. I'd rather get it from somebody I trust and know that has my best interests at heart than online reviews that say this is a piece of garbage.
Before we even jumped on, we talked about coaching
Yeah.
for CEOs, and I've done a ton of that. I know you have as well. That's a whole different beast, right? You're dealing with a actor in like your book, trying to get them to do better, right? And they're moldable, right? A CEO, you talk about egos. A lot of times those egos are there, and how do you mold them and coach them? And is the approach different that you're taking their stuff?
It's a great question. It's very different. And here's why. Because as you know, when you're coaching an actor, we're speaking the same language, essentially. Mike, for as much as you've been in the business world for a while and stuff, when you were in my class, like, you knew the things that I was speaking about because we speak the same language, because you have experience in the acting world. When you're dealing with a CEO or a regional vice president of a multi-billion-dollar company, they have no idea what you're talking about. You can't like do an improv exercise with them and expect that they're going to look at you like you have two heads. So it's been a transition to understand how they think. But I work with a woman named Catherine Janasek, Janasek Performance Group, and she took me on as one of her coaches, and she has a background in television and news. She worked newsrooms for many, many years. She's a 3-time Emmy Award winner, and she built this company of coaching CEOs and doctors and lawyers on public speaking. And she's a pro. And so I was able to bring to the table what I offer, and it's very similar language, but for a new group of people that don't speak that language at all. And it's been so refreshing because they get, oh, you were on TV, you were on Contagion. I get that part. But when I offer, hey, this is how you give this presentation to your sales team, and if you really want them to understand the message that you're trying to get across, this is going to make your business more money. Oh, I guess I need to learn that skill because I need my business to grow and make more money. Got it. And it's like, oh, that's the aha moment for them. It's just a different language and a different way of doing exactly what I've been doing with actors, but spinning it in a way where they hear what I'm selling, and how that's going to make their business better. So, and I'm sure you know that, JD, because you've done what I do. It's what's the bottom line? What's the ROI, right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to invest in this course with you because my ROI is going to, grow. My business is going to grow, and I'm going to have more sales because I am communicating my message of my company better. And Catherine was the one that taught me that, and working with her has been a dream. I work with her and another old student of mine, actually, an actor, Dana Black, who actually, she got me connected with Catherine, and the three of us in a room together working with these CEOs and RVPs, it feels like we've been working together for years. And it's so invigorating because unlike an actor, you're like, all right, you get this, you know what I'm talking about. The response that you get from someone who doesn't understand this language and watching them grow and get better, it's so money. It's a really great feeling to help those people.
It's also tough to get over the just step aside. I'll do it. I'll do it. You're horrible. I'll do it. No, it is gratifying. It is.
Yeah. But you're also someone, JD, that like is really skilled at getting up and speaking for them and representing a company and doing those things. I'm not that guy. I'm much better behind the scenes helping someone else do that than I would be being a representative of a company for them. So you have a very special skill set that is just not something that's in my wheelhouse.
Liam Neeson of CEOs.
Are you that tall? He's a tall man.
I am, actually.
There you go. See?
Well, I think it's amazing that you're doing this, Stef, and my God, I'm sure you're killing it. You're going to be great at this as you were with the coaching for actors as well. I have to know, like for you, when you're watching TV, when you're watching film, like who are you really impressed by right now? Or is it stuff that you see, maybe older stuff that pops up that you're like, oh my God, they just pulled that trick that I talked about in my book. They just pulled it. I'm just curious.
You know, the technical stuff that I teach in the class, like something like vertical eye movement, right? Where actors want to stay right here and stay with their scene partner the whole time right here, and it looks really, really weird. And I'm like, you know that in real life, we don't actually do that because that looks really weird. In real life, when we see someone, we're like, hey, how's it going? Good to see you. And vertical eye movement is one of those technical tricks that I teach actors to incorporate in their skill set. I had someone text me today and go, have you seen Penguin episode 2? I mean, the lead woman is doing some awesome vertical eye movement. She's like making it work for this scene. And I go, yes, that
Oh,
makes
that's
me
cool.
happy, right? You know, I like being surprised by performances. And whether it's the Penguin, there's the thing that I'm calling, calling to mind right now because I just watched it, or movies or whatever. Daniel Day-Lewis is coming out of retirement to do a film with his son. And he's, my
I
favorite of
saw
all
that.
time. Yeah, I think you can find great performances everywhere if you look hard enough and if you know what to appreciate. And even on the Chicago shows, which are a little formulaic, and you're like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. You got guys, people, actors on there pouring their hearts out and really going for it on those shows. And I applaud those performances as well. I'm always up for, I'm not one of these actors that sits back and goes, all right, let's see it. I'm always like watching TV like this going, all right, let's give it to me, and open to those performances. And I think if you look hard enough, you can find them everywhere, including commercials.
In your experience as a coach, talk to me a little bit about what leadership qualities do you believe are essential to helping actors reach their full potential?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and it's early in my executive coaching career, working with, guys, humans, women, men that are in charge of a group of people, and they're in charge of their well-being, their bottom line, what they bring home money-wise for their families. It's really about establishing trust, right? You got to get people to trust you and believe you. And I think there are ways that I can help those humans understand who their audience is, understand the message that they're trying to get through to their audience, and find ways that they can get them to trust and invest in them. I think that's really key. And once you do that, then you've sealed the deal. Then it's easy. So I don't know if that directly answered your question, but I think it was along those lines.
That's fantastic stuff. And working with you like really changed a lot for me. And it's not just that you're someone that is selling tricks like a fake magician or anything. Like this is how you trick it in the box or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's the fact that you're saying like this is what you can do, this is how you can get better, and it's all possible. And also beyond that, you're someone that is a kind person, an encouraging person, and that is why you're a good leader of this community right now. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking time to talk to us and hear our questions. Some of them good, some of them goofy, but I really appreciate you being here tonight.
Listen, I appreciate that very much. I loved all of the questions and didn't find them too goofy. I say this, I don't discredit what I teach or how I teach it. I feel like I have a lot of great ideas that I bring to the table for people, but I also feel like what I teach is in you. And I'm the person that just goes, hey, remember this? Or remember when you thought about this and you go, oh, yeah, of course, I can do that. Everything that I teach, I believe, is in the person that I'm teaching. And my job is to just get them out of their way and just be able to unlock that for themselves. And you're a person that, in my class anyway, you had it all in you and you just hadn't tapped it for a while. And once you had the ability to do that, it all came out. So that's my goal. And that's where I come from when it comes to being a teacher.
Well, thanks, Steph. You're one of the very best, and you're one of the best dudes. So thank you so much for being here tonight.
My pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Mike, you're spot on. Steph is just a wealth of knowledge, and just I love his energy.
He's got amazing energy, and it was nice to see that you guys kind of connected because you're both working on things with corporations, with CEOs, and you guys have a lot in common. And you're both very good performers, or very good in front of people. And you both probably like people more than I like people.
I'm just a loud human, but no, he has been there and he's done that. Even though he's a Bears fan, we'll forgive that. But Mike's shaking his head at me right now as a Bear fan. I tell you, the coaching that transcends, that he talked about, that transcends from actors and the stage to the boardroom, and showing that leadership across the aisle, I think is really fascinating.
And the thing I'm most excited about is he said that the Cubs are going to win the World Series someday.
Someday.
I don't remember the date, but he said in the future they will win it again.
I love it. I love it. What a great conversation, and one of these wonderful people that you have to read his book. And the book is called again, Mike?
It's called The Map.
That wraps it up for another episode of C Level Up. You can always tune in at jamesdwayne.com, Podbean, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for listening.